Greetings and welcome to our midweek check-in this week. I'm Pastor Michelle Abbott here at Knoll Lutheran Church. Our reading from this past Sunday was from the 11th and 12th chapters of 2 Samuel, and they tell a small part of the story of David, King David. Before we get to that story, though, I want to give you just a little bit of background. David, it turns out, was identified as the future king of Israel in his youth. He wasn't crowned king then, but he was identified as the future king. And he went on to do some amazing things, probably the most significant being that he took down the giant Goliath. Goliath was the secret weapon of the dread enemies of the Israelites, the Philistines. And David took him out with nothing but his slingshot. It was a pretty cool story. Well, after that, and eventually David did become king of Israel, and the people of God flourished. They flourished, that is, until David, instead of feeling blessed by God and God's abundance, began to feel entitled. And he felt so entitled that when he saw a woman named Bathsheba, who he admired, David assaulted her. And later, when he found out she was pregnant with his child, David murdered her husband. Yep, it's all there in the 11th and 12th chapters of 2 Samuel. Now, God, as you might imagine, was not happy about that, so God sent the prophet Nathan to pretty much read David the riot act. This next part is important. You see, instead of ignoring the prophet, David listened, and he not just listened, he repented. And he repented wholly and meaningfully. Now, way too often when people in power like David mess up, the systems around them protect them, and they never have to face into what they did. In fact, so often they end up so entitled that they never even realize that they mess up. But David didn't do that. David repented, and he turned his life back to God. Now, David's story is long and convoluted, but it's important that we recognize that even though David really messed up, God did not give up on him. And David, even though he really messed up, heard God and turned his life back to God and doing work for the good of God's kingdom. So I think for you and me, this can be a story of real hope, because the truth of the matter is you and I are going to mess up too. And when we do, we can trust that God will not give up on us, just like God didn't give up on David. And hopefully we, like David, will repent and turn our lives back to God. Well, that was our reading this week. What I would encourage you to do is take some time during the next week and turn to the 51st Psalm. Because as you read that song, you should know that it is thought to be written by King David as he repented of his sins to Bathsheba and her husband. It's a beautiful song. Well, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.